You said Swansea and Cardiff. Is there a bit of a beef like there is with Glasgow and Edinburgh?
Yes, massive. Football wise, yeah, there's always that they're the two loggerhead team that if it is a derby, then it's pretty tasty between the two towns, definitely.
Oh, bloody hell. What brought
Yeah.
that about?
I think there's always been a rivalry, really. I think that the Swansea kind of is like the gateway to the West, and and all that type of stuff. That's and then Cardiff is kind of Wenglish, is kind of anglicised. It's very much the English um, influence is kind of there. Not so much now. We're getting more. It's more cultural now in Cardiff, and it's very Welsh in its heritage. But I think it's just wrongly seen that way. That it's more anglicised. Um, it's more influenced by England, and in that way, there's kind of an animosity there. There's always the thing that perhaps Swansea should have been the capital. But then people up in North Wales would argue that somewhere up there should have been the capital. There's always the thing. And I think it's part of Welsh culture as well, going down to valleys, having beef with other valleys and things like that, really. I think it's just football is just the thing that brings that out in them. Because rugby, it doesn't happen. Rugby's fine, but the football, yeah, it does. Yeah.
Football's very tribal. It's incredibly tribal. My God. And one thing I have noticed is that in like Scotland or Ireland, they've not as kept up with the Gaelic speech as much as Wales has.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can't really speak for Scottish, for Gaelic and anything, but for Welsh people, um, we were, like, Welsh was banned. The English tried to stop us speaking Welsh, and that's why it's it's more spoken in North Wales now than South. But I think as time has gone on, like now, like I work for a local authority in the day, so they've had funding to try and get as many people speaking Welsh as possible, so we can have a bilingual kind of service and an existence and things. And I think now more people are getting switched back onto, and it's easier now. You've got Duolingo, you've got other ways you can learn now. It's a lot more accessible. Um, but I think it's our mentality really that it's ours, and we tried to take it away from us, so we're trying to keep it. But then there's other people in Wales who don't really care. They just crack on speaking English, and they've got no interest in it. But I definitely think that it's rising the number of people who want to speak Welsh now, and I've really enjoyed it because I never bothered before. I hated learning languages in school. I hated school. But through lockdown, I loved it. I really enjoyed it. And be able to do gigs now is great, and it's a bit more frightening because it's a bit more nerve wracking because you don't know if you're saying things the right way or whatever. So you don't know if it's going to land. It's a real challenging thing to do. Um, and when it goes well and when they laugh and they get it, it's like, oh thank God, it's another thing to do. So yeah, it's interesting. But I think that we're very kind of passionate about our history, really. So yeah, it's a part of our identity, and we want to push it forward. Really.
It's and because of that sort of passion and identity, does that must give because it's such a specialized gig when you do it in that that must does it in some ways mean that you get paid more than or it's easy to get audiences as well for that sort of gig
Well,
than
it's harder. You don't get as many people in the gigs down south, um, from my experience, but the pool of people that speak Welsh is smaller, so opportunities are a bit more in your grasp than they are. So, like with S4C, which is our Welsh speaking channel, I pitched an idea to BBC Wales about something, English speaking BBC Wales, and I didn't hear back from them for ages. I pitched an idea to S4C. I had a meeting with the commissioning officer that afternoon. It's because there's less people, and they're really trying to get young people involved now. If we get young people speaking Welsh and regenerate that, then it just increases the language and what they can show and all that type of stuff. So in certain cases, speaking Welsh opens doors that wouldn't be open to you otherwise.
Hmm. But yeah, it gives you more opportunities because I spoke to a comedian in India and he's Bengali and he's got a massive following, like 200,000 Bengali people supporting him. But the biggest opportunities for comedy in India, English and Hindi. But
Yeah.
having and he's in a position where he's deciding, does he just focus on a Bengali or does he focus on Hindi?
Yeah. Yeah, it is that. I mean, I'm nowhere near. I got some friends who are first language Welsh, and watching them gig in Welsh is a completely different thing to watching me gig. Watching me gig in Welsh is like a foul-mouthed toddler making his way through it, broken speech. Um, but the S4C are really good. I think there's been some of my friends have been on S4C. They've done comedy, stand-up comedy, and things. There is a scene there that's growing. But the biggest, is obviously speaking in English. Um, it's just about looking for the opportunities and narrowing the pool because obviously the age I am, the gender I am, all that type of stuff. We're so heavy with white blokes because we're all talking about similar things. It's such a difficult demographic to be in. You've got to look for other ways to try and make yourself different because you know that just by going around gigs, it's very different. I think that's one of the hardest things in comedy for anybody really, is to try and be original. And when you've got loads of other people who are very similar to yourself, you're always going to have some sort of crossover. So to try and make yourself as individual as possible, I think is really difficult. So something like a different language, obviously, a different culture, you've got different things to talk about. It's more interesting for the audience as well. Um, so it should always be explored.